Hey folks. The new and mysterious depths of Hyrule, introduced in the latest installment of the Zelda series, Tears of the Kingdom, have brought on a ton of questions and mysteries, with many fan theories already created on a variety of topics. What are the depths? Why are the depths? Who are the depths? Is this really the script? There are tons of mysteries down here in all seriousness, from the identity of those on the statues to the lore of the mines and how they operated back in the day. But one cracking mystery I've been wanting to tackle for a wee while now is the mystery of the Dark Skeletons. 3 large skeletal remains found in the depths of Hebra, Eldin, and the Gerudo Desert. Not only are they the remains of unknown creatures, but they're each found directly below the remains of the great skeletons first seen in Breath of the Wild. So what exactly have we got here? That's exactly what we're going to try and get to the bottom of in today's video. Be sure to drop a wee like down below, subscribe if you're new around here for more fabulous Zelda content coming your way. And as always, be sure to go grab yourself a snack and drink folks. Send them in on my socials to get featured right here. And let's take a look at the great mystery of the Depths Dark Skeletons. Across the wide entirety of Hyrule and its mirrored underworld, we can find the remains of past creatures. From skulls to scattered bones, rib cages and unknown remains. But these 3 in particular are peculiar. We find them almost in their full entirety, which is honestly quite rare to find in the world of paleontology. Not only is the full body nearly complete, minus say the end of the tail or a few rib cages broken, but we also have a complete skull to look at, which can more often than not tell us the most amount of information when it comes to bones and fossils. Now, I absolutely love stuff like dinosaurs, Jurassic Park, and paleontology. However, I'm not going to get extremely anal about things like if these are technically bones or fossils, as we do need to remember it's a video game, and in those, video game logic applies. So I don't want to hear any, "my uncle's a paleontologist," in the comments. Unless he actually is, then that's pretty cool and go ahead. If we take a look at any of the 3 dark skeletons, we can instantly notice that they're identical. The remains of the same creature. Currently, we don't know what they were. The bodies are made of long slender builds, like a snake, serpent, or maybe even dragon, protected by these large, strong ribcage bones that would have guarded the sides, and the spinal bones running along top to protect from above. You can also see these little spikes running along the top, indicating that whatever beast this belonged to had actually protective spikes running along it. Like most serpent, snaky, dragon-type creatures, the softer weakness area would have run along the bottom. But given the build we see here, it's not a bad guess to say that this creature was likely coated in thick skin, maybe even scaled and essentially armoured. If we look at the skull of these remains, it gets rather interesting, as these skulls are new to our knowledge. We do find other skull fossils across the game, but none match these. From the enemy camp skulls, debatably just made from rock, to the Leviathan skulls, which we'll touch on shortly by the way. These are unique. They support a longer snout, large nostril holes, and one heck of a jaw. We don't see any teeth on them now, but it's likely they had a good set of them. It's probably for the best that this beast isn't around anymore, as the snap on these gnashers would have been insane.
So no head?
Nope, no thank you. No thank you. No thanks. It has the look of a predator, something able to inflict damage, not your more peaceful leviathans, a bit more akin to whales. I'm pretty confident that these are the remains of a sort of dragon. From the slender body to the deadly skull, it matches up decently, and we know dragons did exist at some point in time as wild creatures, but as with most things in the Zelda series, it goes much deeper than just that. We can find similar remains across the surface, but only the rib cages, and whilst they do appear identical, both in the way the rib bone wraps around for protection, but also the little spike atop, I don't necessarily think that this means that these are the same creatures. I say this because on the 3 Leviathan remains found on the surface, complete with skull and tail, they share this same trait in their ribcage. So for all we know, these ribcages found across Hyrule could belong to Leviathans, the same creatures as these remains, or something entirely different. I'm not ruling it out. just pointing out that it's not a certainty, as this bone structure is found across two separate species, which really just comes down to video game logic and models and whatnot. Perhaps they are relatives of the same group, but not the same species. One set of remains that likely is the same though, or at least a closer related species, is the remains found at Dragonbone Mire. Given the name, we can assume that these have been identified as dragon bones, once again sharing a ribcage structure, but we don't actually find a skull here, though it's safe to assume that these are actual dragon remains. Analysing bones is a confusing game at times. Due to that priorly mentioned video game logic, we don't have the insight of knowing if these remains come from creatures that even lived in the same time period. For all we know, the remains of what I'm suspecting to be dragons could have lived in a different time from the Grand Leviathans. Speaking of which, what's the connection with them? Obviously they're not the same creature, but why on earth are they found directly above and below each other? That's the really confusing thing to me. Even in the case of the Gerudo remains in Tears of the Kingdom, where they were found, still lines up with the dark skeleton directly below. We know the depths are a mirrored world of Hyrule geographically, but the structures and creatures found aren't mirrored usually, so why exactly are these remains mirrored? Well, to try and answer that, we need to look more at what exactly these Leviathans might have been. There have been countless theories, both from other Zelda troopers, but also in-game characters. They're a great mystery, and one of the most well-known from Breath of the Wild, but one we can make some connections with. The most commonly made connection is to Levias, seen in Skyward Sword, the great spirit of the sky, a sacred deity level creature. The body shape of Levias and any other sacred Leviathans that potentially soared these skies matches up with the Leviathan remains, from the unique skull shape to the placement of the arms and legs. Even the tail lines up. Leviathans like this may have all been considered sacred or important, and it's possible that these are the remains of these secret creatures, the very same kind as Levias. If that's true, that point of sacredness could be a key detail to explain why dark variants appear directly below them, but yet are still different. Perhaps they were some sort of anti-god or symbol opposing sacredness, an evil or minion of Ganon. Thinking on that further, what other evil dragons have we seen across the series that could be connected? Unfortunately, my favourite dragon, Argorok from Twilight Princess, doesn't fit the bill, as that dragon is a winged beast closer to a Gleeok. We're dealing with a slender dragon. The first that pops to mind is of course Volvagia from Ocarina of Time, an ancient beast that lived in the depths of Death Mountain, revived by Ganondorf to ensue chaos. Volvagia is a fire-breathing dragon in this sort of shape, considered a sort of spirit of the mountain. Link faces off against the beast in a ferocious battle engulfed by the flames and lava pits within the Fire Temple, deep inside Death Mountain. And whilst Volvagia is a good comparison, the creature we're looking at appears to have been a bit larger. Volvagia is long and slender, but doesn't appear to have the girth of this creature, neither in the official artwork or in-game model. To really emphasize this and rule out Volvagia, or the exact species of Volvagia, here is Link against Volvagia. And here is Link against the Dark Skeleton. Admittedly, there is a chance of them being the same creature at different stages of life, but to have such a huge size difference, it just doesn't feel too likely. That moves me to some more recent events and information that could help us out here. The Zonai. Thanks to the new expansive dragon lore Tears of the Kingdom introduced, we learned quite a lot about dragons and the culture around them. In the age of the Zonai, dragons were a massive part of their culture, and whilst there are a lot of questions regarding it all, we at least know they worship dragons and knew a way to become a dragon. The secret Zonai stones. If an individual swallows a secret stone, they are turned into an immortal dragon. So clearly, these three weren't cases of immortal dragons, but something I want to highlight regarding this is the three dragon armor sets. The Ember, Frostbite and Thunder armor. Ancient ceremonial armor sets that pay homage to the three dragons seen flying across and below Hyrule. Dinral, Naedra and Farosh. a fire, frost, and thunder dragon, possibly all once Zonai individuals who became immortal dragons. All these dragons take on long slender builds, similar in size to these remains. This extends to the two individuals in the modern day who consume secret stones and turn into dragons. Major spoiler alert in case you haven't beat the game yet, both Princess Zelda and Ganondorf turn into dragons, and their size matches up. Could these three dark skeletons be the remains of individuals who swallowed secret stones and became dragons? Well, if it's said that this process turns you into an immortal dragon, how could these remains exist? This isn't immortality. What on earth are these dark skeletons? It feels no matter which route I look, there just isn't any sliver of an answer, and when there is, it just doesn't add up fully. They're clearly slender noodle dragons like the three seen across Hyrule in the depths, as well as Zelda and Ganondorf in dragon form. The only solid connection is the Leviathan remains above. Could it be simply just that? Yin and yang, up and down, good and bad. I think that's the most likely outcome here, unless these three remains are just highly coincidentally in these exact three locations, which they obviously aren't. I think that at some point in the mysterious and very unknown history of the depths that these three creatures existed in literal contrast to the three Leviathans found above, anti-gods or deities of the depths. To conclude, we ultimately cannot say that we know for absolute 100% that these dark skeletons are the remains of ancient anti-god dragons to mirror the presence of the sacred Leviathans of the past. However, I personally believe that it's likely what they were, connected geographically to the remains of other godlike creatures in ancient Leviathans. But as for any finer details, it's near impossible to say, further adding to the bigger mystery of just what the depths truly are, and why some things don't parallel with the surface and why others do. These dark skeletons are just one of many great mysteries down here, but for now, and possibly the rest of the Wilds era history, might just remain a Zelda mystery. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to drop a wee like down below, as well as consider subscribing for more fabulous regular Zelda content coming your way. I really enjoyed making this one, as I got to look at and try to figure out what some old bones are within my favourite video game series. So what do you think the dark skeletons of the depths once were back in their day? Let me know down below in the comments. If you'd like to help make these videos all the more possible, then consider becoming an official Hyrule Gamer channel supporter today. I offer a weekly inside scoop post, your name at the end of all of my videos, and a shout out when you join. If that's something that interests you, then head on down to the supporting links found in the description. Also down there are my socials and Discord server if you'd like to keep up to date with me. Thanks again for watching. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day or night, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.
Thank you.